Hello, everyone. This is MMA Interesting Prospects podcast. Today, our guest is Brian Rogers, who will fight on AFP 103, August 23rd. Hello, Brian. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you today?
I'm good. And when I saw your name on Topology, when I was going through the Topology, I was quite surprised because, of course, like over 10 years ago, you were one of the better guys in the middleweight division in Bellator. You fought many times in the promotion. You've got some crazy knockout there. So if you can tell me what is the story behind your like return fight, because it's like 8 years break.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. So my last Bellator fight was April of 2016, and I lost to Alessio Sakara. And after that, I became a free agent. At the time, we were in conversation with the UFC, and Mick Maynard said, "Win three in a row, and we'll sign you." And I won one in January of 2017, and then March of 2017. And in that second fight, I tore my labrum and my rotator cuff up. At the same time, I started my first advertising agency, and just got busy with life. My son was born around the same time, had some challenges with the now ex-wife, and just like didn't really get back to it 8 years ago. The kind of the rhyme and the reason behind the return is, obviously I've had a lot of time to kind of sit and watch a lot of MMA. From 2017 to 2021, I didn't do a whole lot myself. I was pretty sedentary and on the couch. 2021, I got back into grappling, started hitting different jiu-jitsu tournaments like Grappling Industries, some ADCC qualifiers and opens, and won an ADC Open in Denver. And then went to ADCC West Coast Trials last year and won one match. So I was pretty happy about it. So that happened that was 2023 and just kind of propelled me forward. And so the reason to come back is ultimately, I think life's always a fight. We all have many challenges and battles we're fighting as humans. And I am no different. I am no different. The current fight and the battle I am facing and dealing with is I have an ex-wife who I believe is alienating me from my children in a big way, shape, and form. And I've been doing the things I need to do in my life to get more resources and things available to be able to form a court case if need be and have the assets and resources to provide for them and do the things I need to do just to be the father and person I want to be. I don't have any violent history in my background. I don't have anything crazy or anything like that. If I haven't been paid to fight, I haven't fought anybody. So there's no reason that I can't be around and near my children. I just have someone who's just not being their highest self and, in my opinion, spiteful in a few ways. And so last August, I was in Cleveland, Ohio. I went to a Cage Thunder show and I got excited by the atmosphere and the energy. And I was like, it will take me about a 1 year to get in the shape that I need to. I manage a business called Reciprocity Creative Coalition, which is branding, marketing, and personal development. So that's my full-time gig as an entrepreneur. And so I was like, okay, how do I balance that and do this? And I believe the highest human act is to inspire. I wanted to tell people about my story and show how there's a process to achieving your goals and be a living example of that. So over the last year, I've been working on a film and a documentary around my return to the cage.
So it was like 1 year project, right? From the decision up to the fight.
Yes, yes.
And what is like what was the biggest challenge in your training camp? Because for a few years you didn't train, so I think that there could be like many challenges, many tough moments for you.
Yeah, yeah, it's I was an athlete or am an athlete who's very athletic, very explosive, very speed, very powerful. Well, when your conditioning is not at the level you need it to be, your speed and your power goes. So having to retrain that, fire up my nervous system again and be speed, powerful, and explosive. A bit of that. I took a solid like 6 months really focusing on jujitsu and strength and conditioning at the beginning of it, just really wanting to prepare my body and was doing strength and conditioning 4 to 6 days a week. Jujitsu really only like 2 to 3 days a week and only like shadow boxing to start with in the beginning, kind of late 2024. I didn't spar until December of 2024 last year was the first time I did some sparring. And then in the first quarter of 2025, Chris Camozzi, who's the BKFC light heavyweight champion, is a good friend of mine, and I started just working boxing with him for that camp. I kind of mimic a similar style as his projected opponent, Lorenzo Hunt, at the time. So I did that camp with Chris most of end of January, beginning of February, up until April to kind of just get boxing striking beginning and going. And then in April, I returned to Factory X, Muay Thai and MMA, in Denver, Colorado, under Mark Montoya, and started doing more MMA practices. Now, when I would go home to Ohio, because I kind of live in both spaces, I go back and forth between strong style MMA and Factory X. But when I was home in Cleveland, 2024, in the beginning of 2025, I was just doing jujitsu essentially. But as things ramp back up, got into Factory X around April and May. We'll come back to Ohio for 2 to 3 weeks at a time, Colorado for 2 to 3 weeks time, training with both camps.
And actually, your opponent got a little bit similar story to yours because he thought he ended his career in 2016 and he was back this year, so it was probably even a longer break. And do you know anything about your opponent, or you are just focused on yourself? Because this I think that this story is kind of crazy.
I appreciate that. I'm glad saying it's a little crazy is a compliment. That means I know I'm in the right territory with what I'm trying to do and who I'm trying to be. What do I know about my opponent? He signed the contract. His name is Dustin Pape. He's 7-5 out of Indiana. He hadn't fought in a while either, and then made his return in 2016. He made his return earlier this year. He's a tough Midwest guy. I expect him to come forward and want to strike and want to brawl. I expect him to clench me, to take me down, and to try to beat me up. He's a tough Midwest Indiana guy, and I think he's going to look to like make the fight messy, and I'm okay with that.
And how about recovery? Because probably when you are older, you are not 20 years old. Your body is not recovering as quickly as you were younger. So if you can tell me more about this aspect of the game right now.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So I'm a person who's always taken strength and conditioning, nutrition and recovery pretty serious. My master's is in sports science, coaching and leadership. Used to be a Division I collegiate strength and conditioning coach. So for me, I think the benefit was like I didn't have a lot of mileage on me over the last 8 years, just doing jujitsu here and there, not taking a lot of strikes there. But again, I really focused on strength and conditioning during the beginning of this camp. But with that said, I'm a regular, doing mobility, stretching, sauna, ice bath, massage, physical therapy. Shout out to in Ohio, Dr. Chad Shaheen with Code Cairo. My buddy Jake with Barwis in Denver, Colorado, physical therapy, and my buddy Zach, who's one of my strength and conditioning people and massage guy in Denver. So they've really cut me together, but it's kind of like a car and maintenance. Like if you want to be a race car, you're going to be tearing leather, you're going to be revving the engine. And so when you pull into the shop, whatever that recovery shop is for you, you have to take full advantage of that. And that starts with your food, your nutrition, and eating the right things to recover as much as need people to help manipulate you and stretch you and give you that type of sports medicine treatment. It really starts with what you're putting into your body as well.
And of course, we don't know what's gonna happen in this fight, but do you think that your career can be a little bit longer? That maybe you will take a few more fights?
I don't, yes, I know what I'm going to happen. I know what's going to happen in this fight, but yes, I'm open to fights, but it needs to be the right circumstance and time. This was definitely a passion project for me and wanting to create a film. And, George St. Pierre once said, every fighter is a fighter, an athlete, or an artist when you go step into the cage. And some people I feel I came from a football, wrestling background and definitely showed up as an athlete who was fighting. And I think sometimes didn't use much strategy and just was out there as a fighter. I feel now very much in my kind of artist point in life as a founder, as an entrepreneur, and as a martial artist who's made the choice and the conscious choice to fight again. What's interesting to me though is like I'm fighting Dustin Pape and he's 34 and that's fine. I'm not under the illusion that I'm probably going to compete with the best 26, 27, 28-year olds in the world. I'm not under that illusion. But I am interested in fighting people around for my era, my story. I think about anything's possible, and I think about the three highest level people out there in my weight class in promotions are Jan Bakovic in the UFC, former champion, Eng and Law Sang with one championship, and Andre Shemenko, who I fought previously in Bellator and was 100% beating before he chose to pull my hair and knee me in the face and the ref didn't call it. In my perfect world, an organization would say, we're going to see who the baddest man over 40 is. That's the four-man tournament. and that would roll out. And that's because I'm a martial artist fan, and I think about old Bruce Lee movies and things like that, where you get on a plane, you get on a boat, you go test your skills. And so I'd be very interested in a 4 to 8 man, 40 plus tournament.
And actually, of course, the names that you mentioned are really big, and I think that your fight against Shlemenko would be like a super interesting one because, of course, like for a few years he was one of the like best middleweights outside of the UFC, and of course you fought him, so maybe of course he's also a little bit older, but I think that the rematch would be a good one.
Yeah, we can do it in Russia too.
And about this fight, because you were famous for knocking people out. You've got some flying knees. You've got, I believe, 10 no, 10 pro knockouts. So if you can tell me, will you plan to also to knock him out, or maybe there would be some change, and this time you will go for submission?
I think of myself as this, as a martial artist, you need to be able to defend yourself in every which way. I'm prepared wherever the fight may go. I believe I have the skills and abilities and attribute when I do those things well, those generally end in knockouts. But I have, my last Bellator win and my first pro win were both by submission. And you just never know what happens in a fight, which you have to do whatever you got to do to fight, survive, and win. So I plan on using all my skills and showing that no lucky, no fluke punch, nothing like that. It's just doing the right things to win and be successful. And I believe I can do that in every aspect and facet of this game.
And of course, your Bellator career was quite a long one. Actually, I believe that you also fought in Strike Force, so it's like also a really cool thing. But about like a Bellator career, who was the toughest opponent that you faced? Like after the fight, you know that he was like super tough to beat.
Um, In what ended up being my last Bellator tournament, I'm blanking on his name, but his name was, I believe, was Martin. He was from Denmark, and we did a three round war and went toe for toe and striking for striking. And he got the better that night. I believe he was from Denmark. Um, but I'd say that was one of my last Bellator tournaments. I think I had free fights after that, or just kind of select fights. That was my last tournament fight. But he was very tough. He was very tough. That's the first only time I remember like getting like hurt in a fight because he hit me with a good knee and things like that. Joey Beltran, that was a tough fight. That was a tough fight. But I'd say those two are the people like I lost decisions to both of them, but have a lot of respect for the way they fought and the way the battle played out.
And also, you mentioned that you were quite close to being signed in the UFC in 2017. And at that point, did you like think about maybe some potential opponent that you would like to face in the UFC?
Um, then I'd have to think back on kind of who it was. I think historically the 205 division has gone up and down as far in terms and talent pool, at the time. But no, nothing, nobody really pops out to me. I look right now more than I did then, you know what I mean? Because I mean, it's interesting. Like, I'm very a person who's, very much on the martial arts journey. And again, I don't have an illusion or delusion, I should say, that I'm probably going to contend for a world championship anytime right now. But I believe I'm still one of the best athletes and fighters on the world to do this. And I believe I'm seasoned and I have a good strategy and tactics that I can put to loose. And there's fights out there, whether it's PFL or UFC, with people that I know I have to do a lot of things right. It's fighting. You have less margin for error anytime you fight. But I know there's fights out there that I could win against high level people. And, I could see doing 1 to 2 fights a year over the next couple of years with these right type of matchups.
And I thought that maybe like Joel Romero would be a cool matchup. He, of course, he's also a little bit older. I think that right now he is fighting in Dirty Boxing, so the promotion of Mike Perry. But he also is famous for knocking people out. So
Yeah.
maybe it would be a like a good matchup.
It would be a great matchup. I mean, I'm going to pass the drug test. I don't know if Yoel is going to pass the drug test, though. So we got to see what that check looks like.
And about your like current job, because right now you are like a brand and marketing specialist. And
Yes.
if you can tell me what do you do in this job, and
Yeah.
what makes like a good brand?
Yeah, absolutely. I think what makes a good brand to me is authenticity and who do you champion, who do you work for, or how do you live for and why do you exist? I'm a big believer that brand strategy is focus and clarity for the brand and the business, the founder, as well as their audience. So I think that's the first thing that should come out of brand strategy. And every good brand should have a focused vision, mission, promise, purpose, and values. I like to consider that your brand substance. And then from there, you need to think about what's your personality, what's your voice and your tone, and how you want to articulate and how you want to communicate what that substance is about you. And then who's your audience? Not everyone is your audience, but who's the community you really truly want to serve? And who do you want to take on a hero's journey to help empower and actualize their life? And those are things that I get really excited and energized to help brands do, help them figure out how they're going to then position to the audience and how they are going to help their audience be the hero in their own journey. Those are the things that I help do first before we get to the visual identity, the design, the logos, the color, the fonts, and the types. I'm really good at helping brand and business strategy. I kind of consider myself a three-headed strategist in terms of brand and business strategy, personal development and leadership, as well as marketing and advertising. And really, I won't get into it a ton, but branding, marketing are two different subsets of one another. I find myself working with a lot of founder-led brands, a lot of personal brands who are looking to start businesses and grow either from kind of inside out, from the personal brand into the business, or they're starting their first small business venture. And that's who I really like to help and serve, the people who I feel like are in my community and are looking to change and make some things new.
And right now, when you were preparing for the fight, you worked probably a little bit less, right? Just to be focused on the fight.
The beautiful thing about being an entrepreneur, as many people know, is like the illusion of you controlling your own schedule. But yeah, I mean, a lot of my time is, the morning, some emails, some coffee, some water, stretching mobility, doing some things, then going to strength and conditioning or then going to practice, knocking that out when I'm in Colorado in the first half of the day. And then my afternoon and evenings are spent working. I'm a person who works 7 days a week, but I'm not a person who works 8 to 12 hours every day. I think we get caught up in this, like you have to do these things Monday through Friday, and I've built a world, a universe where I can work any day, any time, to accomplish what I need to, which I appreciate.
Okay, Brian. So many thanks for the time and for conversation. I was excited about your return, but after this conversation, I'm excited even more, and I'm really looking forward also to watch the movie after your fight, because I think that overall the story, your comeback would be like interesting and fascinating to watch.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate it.